Hello and welcome to Vegas Aces Q&A, Interview Edition. I'm your host, Heather Ferris, and on today's episode, I'm going to talk to Dr. Mike Ahlgren about the gaming industry's national standards. Now, before we get into this interview, I just wanted to take some time to apologize to you, the viewers, and also to Dr. Ahlgren. See, I conducted this interview in 2013, and at the time, I had every intention of getting these interviews out there, but I failed. And it never happened. I feel pretty bad about this, and I will do better in the future. But for now, I intend to make amends and release everything that I have so far. So that's why you're seeing interviews from 2013. Again, I'm really sorry. Now, without further ado, here is the interview with Dr. Mike Ahlgren, who is speaking about the national industry standards for gaming. Dr. Ahlgren, thank you very, very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You are a professor at Penn State. You have a PhD in gaming and hospitality. You have worked at the American Gaming Association. When it comes to regulations, do you think it's a good idea that everybody has different rules, regulations that they follow, or do you think everyone should have like an industry standard?
Well, from the industry perspective, I would think that it would be much easier if you could standardize it. But I don't think there's any chance of that, because when I met with Gaming Control in Pennsylvania, they want to make the argument that they do it a little bit better than Nevada. And in a way, they would be, eliminating their own jobs to some degree if they just said, let's just... And then the other side of it is that I think that the selfish side to the industry, and don't forget this, is that if you're going to do it, if you're going to have sort of one standard fits all, well, that would probably be done federally. That would make sense. And the gaming industry doesn't really want that, because usually with regulation comes taxes. And the gaming industry has been very successful at shutting down any attempt to tax the industry from a federal level.
Casinos basically pay everybody's state tax. We don't have to pay our state
Well,
tax.
that's true. And the gaming tax is only paid on the state level as well, right? So, I mean, that's what you're saying, is that it's that state gaming tax that really makes it so we don't pay. Nevada's low already, comparatively speaking, with the gaming tax. I mean, Pennsylvania's 55% versus, about 8%. Once you factor everything in Nevada. So Nevada's already extremely low. If the federal government came along and wanted to tax it as well, they would put it on top of the 8. And Nevada certainly wouldn't say, well, we'll cut back since you're going to take a piece. That wouldn't happen. So in that sense, maybe the industry is fortunate that we don't have, federal regulation. A lot of times there's a plus and a minus to everything.
Why is Nevada held in such high regard from all around the world when it comes to gaming industry standards and regulation?
Well, I suppose that Nevada was largely the first one to really legitimize the business. They were the first ones that were successful at really transforming it into a corporate business. Even if it was technically legal after 1931, we know that there were a lot of influences that weren't maybe completely on the right side of the law. So Nevada understood, and it was really once they got rid of that, both through the willpower of the Gaming Commission, people like Harry Reid, when they sort of pushed out that underworld influence. That's when, really, if you take a look at just development of the industry in Las Vegas, that's when it exploded. Nobody was going to spend $3 billion building a casino when it was run by a bunch of mobsters behind the scenes. Once you legitimized, then you could access the capital from Wall Street. Nevada was the first one that really did that, that made it legitimate and made it a legal enterprise. And part of the reason that they were able to do that was because they became good regulators. Now when the next place wants to look, when Singapore looks or Pennsylvania or whatever, they look to Nevada, and then I was just talking to some some industry people who said, sort of jokingly, that everybody has to put their own slight spin to it. So, they take a look at Nevada, and then they take most of it, but then, they can't just copy it, because then maybe they're not doing their job. So they tweak this and they tweak that. That becomes a big pain for manufacturers. But one of the manufacturers was telling me that, when they ship slot machines, some states, they essentially, the chips, the computer that sits inside the slot machine, some states you can just build the whole thing and ship it as one unit. Some of them want the box, and the brain to it needs to be sent separately, and there's all sorts of different rules, because the regulators all want to put their sort of special twist on it. But the reality is that I think all of them borrow a lot from Nevada, and they're the first ones that did it. So that would be my answer.
That does it for today's show. Now, I want to know what your opinion is on the gaming industry. Do you think all casinos should follow the same rules and regulations? Or do you think that it's a good thing that every casino is different? Write about your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below. Thanks for watching this episode of Vegas Aces Interview Edition. And thanks especially to our patrons at Patreon. If you want to help us keep making videos like this, then please go to patreon.com/VegasAces to learn more.